This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
High on a Monday. We're going to start the week the right way as we welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you. How was the weekend, my friend? Good to see you.
It was good. It was fun. The 9th annual Mario Kart tournament was a success. I made a run to the semifinals, and that was it.
Still no name on the trophy, though.
Still no name on the trophy, no. And we had a repeat champ. So shout out to Tim who got that done for a second straight year. None of you know who he is. But either way, a fun weekend at that. You were out of town.
Yes.
Did you try the crab sandwich that I kept telling you to try out there in right field?
I did
of course
not.
You didn't. Of course you didn't.
Because you know I am not a fish person.
Doesn't matter. You try things.
I did. I tried caviar this weekend. What was called apparently bougie white trash lunch.
Okay.
When I was at a winery. It was caviar on a chicken nugget.
Super salty? Is that what
It
like
was
the
actually,
flavor profile?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
okay.
salty. But it was actually shockingly good. And that
Okay.
was my first time ever having caviar, so leave it to a millennial to do it on a chicken nugget. It was great. But we had a very fun weekend out in Napa, wine country, went to a handful of tastings, went to, the
Oracle
Giants
Park,
game where, fortunately, considering the Giants ended up winning 2 of 3 in that series, we were rooting for the Braves that weekend, and we were there for the Friday game that they did end up winning, so that was positive. My favorite thing, though, at the ballpark, and you were dead on, like, everyone that says all of the right things about Oracle Park nailed it.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It was an awesome game day experience, even with the Giants being as bad as they are this season. Still a ton of people there. The Bay was wonderful, but the Girardelli,
I told you, yeah, okay.
that was
I figured
maybe my favorite thing.
I figured you would want to hit that. That's why I told you. But I mean, you were going to find it anyway if you were out there. But I figured
it
that you
had
would
been a minute since I had a true chocolate fudge sundae,
yeah.
and on a kind of chilly night, hot chocolate fudge.
You were
man.
right next to the crab sandwich, man.
Couldn't do it. It was awesome, though. Good to see my old buddy Dave Fleming as well, who's the Giants play-by-play man. So very, very fun weekend overall.
Do you think if I hit him up and I'm like, hey, I know Stormy, give me some free stuff?
Why don't I hit him up for you
Okay,
if you go?
yeah.
I think that'd probably be the wiser course of operation. But a very fun weekend leading into what is going to be a really fun week. We've got Wimbledon officially underway out there at the All England Club. Serena Williams going to be back in action tomorrow. World Cup obviously rolls on as well. One match in action right now with Japan still up 1-0 at the half. And we were playing back the highlight as I walked in the door here today. Homeboy goes turns over the ball and goes 40 yards essentially by himself for the goal.
Yeah, Sano with a really great play, like you said it. A turnover at midfield, and all of a sudden it turns into a goal coming the other way. Not a single other touch other than Sano forcing the turnover and taking it the entire way. So that is the difference right now for Japan, who is currently up 1-0 at the break. So you do wonder, I think a lot of people, I already saw this up on social media, all right, this is where we jump in. We're going to hammer Brazil. Japan right now minus 145 to qualify. And I would say that, I don't know, man, like this is not the same Brazil team as I think that we expect and know in general history of football. I think it's a little bit more of a flawed group. We'll see if Neymar coming off the bench, if he does, if that's going to change anything. I didn't see if he checked in the first half. I don't believe he did. So maybe that's going to help you out here. But this is not like the dominant Brazil club, I think, that many remember in years past. And I think the Japanese could potentially hold on here to get this done. So we'll see if that is actually the case. Some of the advanced metrics for you, if you like that sort of thing and what we're seeing here. Expected goals still barely in favor of Brazil, despite the fact that the Japanese have that goal possession well in favor of Brazil too. 2 shots in goal to 1. So statistically, Brazil has been outplaying them. So maybe we'll see if that is going to be a difference here in the second half.
They were more than a $3 favorite to advance, minus 135 on the 3-way money line. So we'll keep tabs on this as we go. Of course, we'll preview the other matches of the day, talk some more World Cup in a moment. But real quickly as well, to kick us off here, we do have a result in the books this morning. Another close but no cigar moment for Scottie Scheffler, who fell in the playoff this morning at the Travelers to Victor Hovland. This after last night, we saw weather ultimately delay the competition at the very end on that 18th hole between Hovland and Scheffler. It was starting to get dark out. They had to postpone the playoff until this morning. And for Scheffler to hit a 9-foot putt or whatever it was yesterday to ultimately force the playoff at 21 under to this morning walking in and not being able to hit a sub 3-foot putt to force at least a second playoff hole here. there. You have to imagine super disappointing for Scheffler, who, according to ESPN Insights, JVT, was a perfect 42 of 42 in regulation within 3 feet prior to that putt.
Yeah, I mean, I have to get my measurements better. I thought it was more like a 4-foot putt, but you're right. The exact measurement was 2 feet 4 inches, and he just rims it out, just hits the left lip and rims out. So a tough one for Scotty. Hovland gets the victory, as you mentioned, but the struggles, as you said, continue for Scotty Scheffler, who has just been on the precipice of winning a couple of these and been playing some of the better golf, despite the fact that the results finally have not been there.
4th runner-up finish for Scotty this year, yet to win an event since the PGA Tour opener at the American Express. He was a minus 155 favorite this morning to close things out. Hovland plus 125, so cash that. If you are a Victor Hovland underdog better this morning, and 40-1 outright as a pre-tournament dog. So there you go. Okay, we have a lot more still to set the table for on the program today, but when you have that much action in the morning, you got to touch on it. So let's get down to business. Everything still to come here on the program.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
I'm pretty excited for today's show at Large, JVT, because we're getting into a lot of different stuff, including some college football previews, some Heisman hopefuls discussion. The bulk, if not all, of the college football offseason has been about Brendan Sorsby. So with him off the board, we'll dive into the market at large.
Yeah, I mean, look, the history of the Heisman is that generally in the last few years, we have seen some dark horses at the beginning of the year rise to the top and take this award. There's been a couple of short shots, but we'll talk about the history of it and some of the long shots that have cashed in terms of preseason odds. So you can go digging in the Heisman market, and I know that there was one list that was out there that included a boy that you're big on.
Yes.
We'll see if you're going to go back to the well with one of them. It is not Avery Johnson. I remember watching a TikTok video of one college football analyst right before the season last year really touting Avery Johnson to win the Heisman. I can't remember who that was, though.
I can't either. It's so weird that you bring that up. I was just racking my brain about it. Worth noting as well, and this is something I'll reiterate when we get to that conversation a little bit later on, I will never bet somebody in this market that is not at least double digits. This is a market that is so volatile that whether they are double digits now or will be in the future, keep that in mind. This thing moves like crazy, and it doesn't really matter until we get deep into November. We also had plenty of drama on the diamond as we get into more Major League Baseball. One of the more brutal total beats, by the way, you're going to see yesterday in Red Sox and Yankees. If you had the under 8, I feel for you. But could this be a turning point for the Red Sox season? Some other teams that we can talk about big picture now that we are just past the midway point of the MLB season.
Well, that, and I think the American League as a whole is just like the theme here because, dude, and look, there is still plenty of time. They are not dead by any means, but this Mariners team had a chance to pull away in the American League West considering the struggles of some of their opponents there, and yet here they are having dropped their last 2, and all of a sudden the Rangers win 4 straight. It's Texas who's in control. AL West seems very dramatic, even though it probably should not be, because the Mariners have been playing with their food and playing very inconsistent baseball over the last 25 games or so.
We'll talk through some prop options, too. Jennifer Piacenti of SiriusXM Fantasy Radio going to join the program a little bit later on. We're also going to have Eric Winalda, former U.S. men's national team legend, talk through some World Cup, which is where we're going to continue our conversation here as the knockout round rolls on. In addition to the game we have in action right now, 2 more still to come today. And, of course, the first team advancing yesterday in Canada beating South Africa 1-0 at SoFi Stadium yesterday. We kicked this thing off with a bang. Canada winning its first ever FIFA World Cup knockout match with that yesterday. And being a hockey reporter, naturally I have a lot of Canadians that are on my X feed, and it was really cool to see how much this really did mean for the country, for them to get this. A lot of people saying they never thought this would happen in their lifetime.
I mean, they should have won by more almost. You were watching that game. They absolutely dominated. If you looked at the expected goal differential, well over 1.2, had 42% possession, 7 shots on goal. Williams for South Africa, my man had to work like the entire game. He ended up having 5 saves, couldn't get every single one of them. But the Canadians, it was one of those final scores that after watching it and then looking at some of the final metrics, you should have needed more than just a 93rd minute goal to get that done if you were Canada. So you got to feel kind of lucky here at the least. Look, we talk about the stupidity of sports and the volatility and the variance. That was one of those where it's like, man, if Canada cannot pull this off, chance after chance on set pieces and shots on goal and high danger opportunities, to use a hockey term, and they just could not break through until late. I was waiting for the drama of them losing that game. And then, of course, you have the drama of, well, we got kicked out of our nation. We had to go to L.A. to play this game. And, like, man, it was going to be perfect. But they ultimately get it done.
I was just thinking about all of the stuff because at this point, like, there is no golden goal, right? You get the 2 additional 15-minute sets. And so I was curious just to see if we're going to get one of these types of crazy, wonky games right off the rip in the round of 32. Obviously, that ends up not being the case. The added time gets it done. The game-winning goal coming in the 92nd minute. We'll see if we get any more chaos as the day goes. They now will get set to face the winner of Netherlands-Morocco, which on paper at least looks to be what could be maybe the most competitive game of the round, right? The way that these two teams are talked about, this is later on this evening, 6 Pacific for us, 9 Eastern. But Netherlands, pretty decent size favorite, minus 150. Well, to advance, that is. I want to put it that way. Yep. Yeah. Minus 155. They are odds on to advance compared to Morocco, plus 120. You're looking at plus 130 for them on that three-way line. Morocco plus 250, draw plus 210 here. The goal total set at 2.5, and kind of just crazy in general to think either the number 6 or number 7 team in the world rankings is going to go down this early, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that this is going to be interesting for many different reasons, but the Netherlands, this is a group that I haven't been overtly impressed with defensively, and I think that was kind of the thought going into this tournament, that could be ultimately their Achilles heel. So that is also why would have liked Holland to play in a game and maybe get some goals before you get stepped out here. And Morocco is totally capable of doing it at this point. So I would say that the Netherlands and the are going to be in a tight spot. And even though they're favored plus 130, I wouldn't say no to at least looking at the Morocco here at plus 250 on the money line. I think there might be a little value there if we're still holding around that price right now. I think that they are susceptible enough that they can get this done if you're looking at Morocco.
Because of that, and I do not disagree with your sentiment, I played both teams to score here. Yeah. It's a little bit juiced at minus 120, but you mentioned the Netherlands' defensive struggles they've had. They've allowed, on average, more than a goal per match. Morocco, while they have been kind of touted as a stingy defensive team, plays you really close, don't allow a ton of space defensively, really physical. They've been giving up a ton of goals. We've seen that you can score goals on this team. So that was kind of my thought process going into this, and just looking through even the matches that they've played in group play, JBT. Both teams have scored at least one goal in each match so far and allowed one in all but one. So it feels like that is a very likely outcome when all is considered.
Yeah, so we'll see. Should be a fun competitive matchup for sure.
No doubt about it. We're just getting started here on Money Moves. So much more to come. Yes, more World Cup, but shifting gears a little, MLB next.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Japan leading Brazil 1-0 as a dog as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. World Cup action rolling on. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you.
Oh, no way.
Another save?
No, this game is insane right now. The Japanese are getting pressured like absolutely crazy. Had at least 3 shots on goal here over the last couple of minutes for the Brazilians, but now because of a monster save, there's a massive opportunity here for the Japanese in transition, so we'll see if they can get this. Ooh. This is insane.
Chaos. But as you were saying when we were coming out of the break, Brazil was threatening there for a moment. It looked like finally something might happen for them. And now we're on the other side of the pitch right now. That said, you also noticed Neymar warming up?
Yeah, Neymar's warming up on the sidelines now. It hit the post, it looks like, and then just the Japanese player to clear it out. But yeah, so Neymar is warming up on the sidelines, so we'll see if that's going to help. I mean, Brazil's got to feel pretty let down here because this latest sequence, I mean, I'm talking about 3 pretty decent attempts at this thing. We'll see if any of them actually register on shots on goal because, hockey, just like soccer and everything, weird register system in terms of what counts. But they have been pressuring, no doubt. So it would seem at the very least that the Brazilians are doing a pretty good job to up the chances of at the very least forcing a draw here in regulation. We'll see if that is the case.
Kaishu Sano with the lone goal in the 29th minute so far. We talked about it earlier, essentially forced a turnover and went 40 yards by himself before pulling the trigger for Neymar. He missed the first 2 matches of World Cup action with that calf injury, got up to 14 minutes in the final game of group play. The hope and expectation was he was going to play even more minutes in this one, yet, as you mentioned, we have yet to see him to this point. So we'll see if he ultimately gets into the match. Brazil.
How do you know that?
Huh?
How do you know that he went 40 yards? Is that just a guesstimate?
It's in the commentary.
Is it?
On
okay.
ESPN.com.
It's like, this is a good use of yardage.
Thank you. Yes, doing my best here. Brazil, a minus 300 favorite to advance. They were minus 135 on the 90-minute line after winning their group. 2 more matches still to come today, Germany and Paraguay, Netherlands and Morocco as well, which we'll preview a little bit later on. But I said in the commercial break to JVT, hey, this Golden Boot situation is starting to heat up now that we're officially in the knockout rounds, and you're wondering how far some of these
Brazilians tie it up. What a brilliant cross into a header. Just like that, it's 1-1 the 56th minute. That was freaking awesome. Holy smokes.
The crowd's losing their minds, too.
But yes, the Golden Boot. I apologize.
And a little action behind us at the Sportsbook, too, today with some early folks out there in the book. But, yes, Golden Boot, 1-1, though, as you mentioned, Brazil and Japan, 56th minute. Prolific stars at the top of the Golden Boot conversation. Lionel Messi, we all know, the leader in the clubhouse right now with 6, started out with the hat trick against Algeria, catapulting him to the top spot. Kylian Mbappe, my guy from France. We got 2 of the top 3 favorites, though, on this France team with Ousmane Dembele as well. He's sitting up there. I don't know how to say Junior's name. Can you say it for me?
I mean, I'm not going to butcher it here either, but we'll just say that Junior, who is playing here, I believe it's Vinicius Junior,
yes,
but either way.
That sounds right.
He did not score. That is worth noting here for Brazil. That was actually Casemiro who scored for them here on the header. So that is a big deal for the Golden Boot race. For
the tournament, he's not somebody, at least personally, I would like to waste my money on looking through his numbers. Only 9 goals in 49 games for Brazil entering the tournament, has never threatened to be a top goal scorer in La Liga for Real Madrid. So that was something that I was just staying off of. I am a believer still in Mbappe. Don't like, though, that they're probably going to have to go through Germany in the round of 16.
Yeah, I would think that's probably the problem. It's part of the problem, as when you're looking at this race and what it's going to mean. I think he is an odds-on favorite for a reason, considering how many goals he has, the lead that he has, but also the path is not easy for the Argentinians, but it is a serviceable path for Messi. And the fact that the other day he comes off the bench and still scores again is absolutely irritating. Just sit like everybody else, please, so we can get into this and actually have a chance at going. But Messi at minus 105, considering the run that they could go on and the way that this is actually setting up for them, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that even at this point right now, it would present a small bit of value considering his lead and the path that they have and the opportunity to make a really deep run here. Should fall short against the Americans, obviously, once they face them in the World Cup final. But I do believe that Messi is in a really good spot, and minus 105 might be worth playing even at this point.
Those are your 1-2 favorites, by the way, to win it all. France plus 350, Argentina sitting there at 4-1. So the expectation is that these are the 2 teams that are going to make the deepest run, at least on paper. Will that actually be the reality? We don't know yet. Harry Kane for England, he's out at 18-1 now, which is the best number you could have found. The curse from the Ghana witch doctor is lifted, so any chance he could claw himself back into the competition is 3 goals so far, so 3 back of our leader.
God, dude, this Brazilian team is on one right now. That was some of the most brilliant footwork I've ever seen. That was another shot on goal that hits the post and cannot make it in. So if you're looking at this from an in-game standpoint, I mean, what are we looking at here?
Fire on Brazil.
Brazil minus 310. I think that makes some sense. Not only is this a draw right now with the better team, but you are looking at a lot of pressure getting put on this Japanese side.
Missed opportunity not to buy in on Brazil earlier, as you were saying, looking at some of those metrics. Anyways, the way that the game was going, despite being down 1-0, Japan was a minus, they were an odds-on number prior to that goal. So now with this sitting at a 1-1 draw-ish score right now, and Brazil just keeps getting played right now, to your point, minus 380 as I look at it, continues to flash.
By the way, Vinicius is how I should probably pronounce it properly.
There we go.
Yes, I apologize.
Your boy Erling Haaland, how you feeling?
Not good. I mean, I think that there's probably, we just talked about it. I made the case potentially for Morocco to get this done here today. And even if they don't, I just don't know if they're good enough on the other side of the pitch that they would be able to hold up and make a deep enough run that he would not only score enough goals, but also somehow overcome the gap that Messi has right now in this thing. So, and by the way, not good either, because the bet that I have is 12-1. He's now at 22-1.
Yes, exactly.
So don't feel great considering the number that I've got where the market's at this point.
One other little tidbit I did want to throw in here, as again, I am somebody who's an Mbappe backer, and I am still a believer at this point, plus 280, the price that's available on him. He has 2 assists to Messi's none, so should he catch up and they end up tying with the same number of goals in all, assists is the next metric that they look at for who wins this award. So keep that in mind as you're handicapping as well. as we're talking World Cup, obviously this time of year, Wimbledon underway. We're in full swing for the Major League Baseball season. It's also the countdown to football season. That's why now is the perfect time to lock in your VSiN football season special for just $175. You get full VSiN Pro access to everything we do here at the network through the Super Bowl. That includes our new betting guide that's out now. For if you're looking to attack futures, season win totals, whatever it is, we have you covered with a 110-page document, JVT. You'll get the daily best bets as well, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop projections, and more. But you do need to be a full VSiN Pro subscriber to get access to it all. VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Why are you laughing at me?
You just love the page count.
I do. That's why I made sure to add extra emphasis on it for you.
Speaking of page count, we did receive today, not all of us, but I received an email in my inbox today. I got my assignment for the college football betting guide as well.
You did?
I did. Would you care to guess the two conferences that I am writing?
Well, obviously the Mountain Best.
Yep.
I'd be very disappointed if that were not to be one of them.
Yep.
What would the other be for you?
I'm getting called I'm getting called up to the big leagues.
Not Big 12?
I get the SEC this year.
Wowee.
Yeah, I get the SEC. So very much looking forward to that. Like you said, usually the last few years it's been like Big 12 Mountain West. So looking forward to it. But yes, that will be.
So what you're saying is we're going to have a continued blind spot for the Big 10.
That's right. And our release date will be Monday, August 3rd. I hope I'm not breaking any rules there, but that'll be coming out in about a month.
Meanwhile, Adam Burke, our wonderful VSiN managing editor, I can already tell is just going to be hounding me for deadline day when we get there.
Now,
that's
Adam,
what it is.
I'm actually kind of disappointed in Adam because Adam's actually not really writing that much for the guide this year.
Why?
He's only writing the ACC, the American Conference USA, the Independence MAC, and the Sun Belt.
Sarcasm.
So I would appreciate that Adam maybe step up a little bit here and write a little bit more, including maybe 3 features on home field advantage, how to make a power rating, and new head coaches, which he's also writing for the guide.
Not busy at all.
No.
I am a little disappointed, though, that you're not getting the Pac-12 as well. I thought that's something that you could have. Well,
Adam,
you already know the
no.
teams.
Adam asked me, and I said no. I would never.
You did? Did you really?
I would never waste.
Sacrilegious?
Never waste ink on that conference.
I am excited to get back to West Coast bias as we get closer to football season. We can probably start integrating some of that in the preseason as well as we talk through some of the futures. But
the return of our top 25.
Yeah, we need to start putting some thought into that. It was around. We still got a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was your birthday that I was flooding you with emails on.
Mid-July that we put together our Money Moves College Football Top 25. We will do that again. We will also, a little bit later on in the show, go through some of our Heisman hopefuls early, looking onto the board. Top of the odds board right now, CJ Carr and Arch Manning, plus 750. But like I told you earlier, let's stay away from the single digits here. There's a lot of options on the board. That's something I think people forget about Heisman Trophy in general. This is like one of the most volatile markets that you can bet, period.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what you find on a year-to-year basis and guys who make runs and everything like that, they just come out of the woodwork. It's nuts. Well, it speaks to just the volatility of college football in general. You know, you're talking about new rosters, and now especially in the transfer portal, guys that are finding new homes, and you'll see guys emerge out of nowhere, put together really strong seasons. And I think that is part of why you want to dig a little bit deeper outside of just the recent history that we have seen here for the award, which we have seen regularly 60, 50-1 long shots before the season start. Get this award.
I'm very impressed with you actually looking at the camera that time because I know most of your focus has been
this has been
here.
I mean, it's been a great game, first off, and so I'm not nuanced enough in terms of soccer to understand any sort of adjustments. But whatever adjustments Brazil has made here in this second half, they have been all over Japan. I'm going to show you this clip that I was talking about with the most incredible footwork I've ever seen because you were too busy doing your job. That was insane, and this Brazilian team with Junior is really taking over right now in this half.
We're going to continue to watch and live update you on some of these numbers as we go here on Money Moves. We do need to step aside, though. Stick around. So much more to come. We've got plenty of NBA questions and news on the way, a full MLB card as well. So stay with us right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony back here with you on Money Moves, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Brazil and Japan tied at 1 right now. Casemiro with the equalizer for Brazil after they found themselves down early. Must be nice to just be known by a singular name.
JVT?
You're Jonathan. Von Tobes, Magobes.
I do introduce myself as Jonathan. And,
Even though I introduce you as JVT and I got to reel it in.
Well, so here's the problem. You introduce me as JVT to people who've never met me before.
True.
So that, like, that's it's ridiculous.
Well, it's a
They
problem.
need to know my real name.
Sure, I understand. It's my own problem. But I feel super weird calling you John. Like, I've never called you John, ever. Mm-hmm. And even when I've called you Jonathan, it's been very strange and uncomfortable. I pretty much only do it when I'm introducing your name as
If you
the
notice,
show.
I never introduce myself as JVT. Never.
But you are in day-to-day life refer to yourself as John, correct? That's how most people talk to you?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like, it's just a different thing. I don't know why this has happened. I apologize. I'm sorry, John. I apologize to you in this moment. Very uncomfortable. But it's like Madonna or LeBron, which actually leads me to an interesting NBA conversation that we have to get to this morning because
One of your best
LeBron and Anthony Davis are reportedly, potentially,
I don't think it's potentially
in the works to go to the Golden State Warriors. So if you're reading the tea leaves and everything, right, for most of the offseason, it's been expected that Draymond Green was going to pick up his player option to return to Golden State for his final year. This morning, he declines that player option, so he's technically going to be a UFA. The expectation still that he's going to go to Golden State, though, right?
Yep.
But this then opens the doors, and you see the connectivity of the agencies and everything, that it appears this is the plan for Golden State.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any question about this. So Stormy's kind of putting it together here for you. Draymond Green is represented by Rich Paul at Clutch Sports. And, of course, the connection with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And the reports are that Golden State wants to put those two next to Steph Curry with Draymond Green to get this done. Well, a couple of things have to happen if that's going to be the case. The first of which is Draymond Green has to decline that player option, as you said. But the fact that Rich Paul represents all of them, I'm telling you this, Rich Paul is not telling Draymond Green to decline 27 point, whatever it is, $7 million to then risk the fact that LeBron's not coming, right? Or that the Anthony Davis trade maybe won't happen. It seems like it is just a matter of time before we get the official news that all of these guys are back together. So that would mean Jimmy Butler on his way to potentially Washington, D.C., and then maybe elsewhere after that. But don't let the door hit you on the way out, Jimmy, because we've got bigger things to take care of here. And so it seems that we are heading toward a version of the Golden State Warriors that would have been sick as hell 7 years ago with Draymond Green, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, and LeBron James. Maybe they got one last ride in them. Who knows? But that is, at least it seems to be, what we're heading toward for Golden State.
I loved the subtle pause that you took there. Would have been sick as hell 7 years ago. Okay, what does this mean to you, though, in 2026?
I mean, I don't know, because here's the thing. I mean, so we have seen LeBron deal with injuries more and more as he goes along. Obviously, he's getting older. It's hard not to. We know what Anthony Davis is from an injury standpoint, from an availability standpoint. Steph Curry's still got plenty left in the tank in terms of being an effective player. And in theory, all of these pieces at their peak, I think, work together. When you look at LeBron with the ball in his hand, Steph Curry is an interchangeable piece. He can either lead or he can play off ball. He's absolutely tremendous. You have two very good defenders in Draymond Green and Anthony Davis. And if you've got enough spacing at that third spot or that final spot on the floor, then you're going from a shooting standpoint. Then I think you're going to be perfectly fine in the actual sense of what those archetypes of players are. Having said that, right, they're old. And it is an interesting juxtapose with the way the Western Conference is being built right now. Mm-hmm. San Antonio is a young team. Yeah. Oklahoma City is a young team. If we're right about the Utah Jazz, that's a young team. So you go down the list of all of these potential contenders in the Western Conference, and you get this interesting clash of styles, which is, all right, we're going to put together some of the greats at their respective positions over their current generations, but then we're also going to have to go up against some young, really athletic groups, and we'll see what comes out in the wash. But I think you get it from the standpoint of, hey, look, you need to make one last ride here, if you will, if you're the Golden State Warriors, and give Steph Curry something. I'm one that has said that Steph Curry should just demand a trade and get out because he deserves to play on a team that'll be pretty good. But either way, it makes some sense, but I don't think ultimately I am going to run to the window to back the Golden State Warriors. And even think, too, Stormy, about some of the changes these other teams have made. Minnesota is not young, per se, but they've gotten more athletic. They've gotten more agile. They have gone away from this big version of themselves, right? Shipping off Naz Reid, shipping off Julius Randle. Now they're kind of a backcourt-oriented team with Adesumu and LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. And so now it's just this shift in, all right, we've got all of these young, spry, athletic teams that are going to space the floor and play relatively well on defense, and the Warriors are going to roll out a little bit of an older, bigger group, and let's just see what goes on. And I think they might be good in the regular season. but I don't know if I am putting them ahead of all of these other teams that we're talking about in the Western Conference.
And so that's where I wanted to go from an odds standpoint next, because at large for an NBA Finals, they're 45-1 to carry the Larry O'Brien this coming year, 18-1 in the Western Conference. But as you mentioned, OKC and San Antonio will continue to be at the top, and it's the haves and have-nots in the West. OKC plus 150, San Antonio plus 160. But then that next batch that you mentioned, right, even with Minnesota's odds coming down the way they are, pairing up Ant with LaMelo, 13-1, same as the Denver Nuggets at 13-1, Lakers 16-1, and then there's Golden State at 18-1 before the odds fall off a cliff. Where do they fit, I guess, in that pecking order of 4 teams in your eyes?
Last.
Still? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. It's just I wouldn't want to put them any higher. I mean, maybe you get just the bump of the excitement of having them all together, and the market's just going to shift anyway because they don't want to add up the liability.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask is where do you think these numbers could shift?
I don't think they go any. I mean, famous last words. I don't think they would be under better than like 30-1 to win an NBA Finals.
Okay.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they become the favorite. I don't think that would be the case. I think cooler heads if you're truly making odds for that version of the team. It'll be fun to watch. But I just don't, because I think for a long time, I mean, you go back to the Olympics, the only times we've ever seen LeBron and Steph play together, so you've always wanted to see that, but I don't think realistically they would stack up with any of the teams that we're looking at in the Western Conference. And we'll see what other teams become too. I mean, look, Kawhi Leonard is still this piece that might be floated out there, and I think maybe by the time we get off the air right now, he's going to be a member of the Toronto Raptors. And so if that's the case, and depending on what the Clippers get back, it's not that the Clippers are going to be a contender, but the Clippers have shifted into a pretty young and interesting team that at least is going to have some really solid upside. They're also still allegedly being touted as a landing spot for Jaylen Brown. So we'll see what happens there. And speaking of Jaylen Brown, there are rumors abound that the Nuggets are looking to shift in a different direction. And what that would be is maybe Jaylen Brown for a Jamal Murray type package, and we'll see if that actually ends up happening. So if Jaylen Brown gets added to the Denver Nuggets core of him and Aaron Gordon, then all of a sudden you're looking at Denver still. Mm-hmm. That is, we haven't even talked about them, right, in terms of where they stack up in the Western Conference. So I personally would take quite a few teams ahead of whatever this monster is going to be in Golden State.
Denver 13-1 in the West, 25-1 to win an NBA title. Toronto 17-1 in the East, 45-1 in that same pricing range as Golden State, where things sit now.
That would be interesting. The other side of that is if Kawhi does go to Toronto, that's if they get to keep Colin Murray-Boyles, because that seems to reportedly be the stick-up. The Clippers want CMB. The Raptors don't want to give that up. And so if you can retain him, and you're talking about a group that is Emmanuel Quickley and potentially R.J. Barrett and Kawhi Leonard and Scotty Barnes, like that is a really good and interesting group that is going to have some real strong upside on defense while also keeping some of the athleticism, the ability to space the floor, play well in transition. Toronto in a pretty open East, that's going to be a team that might be pretty formidable if they land Kawhi without having to give up some really big pieces.
How much do the Celtics fall if or when Jaylen Brown goes away, or do those odds stay pretty pat at plus 650 to win a title?
They'll probably stay up there only because I think of respect. I don't think they should be considered like the second choice in the Eastern Conference. I'm kind of surprised. Mitch and I talked about this because they're favored still over at DraftKings at plus 230. And we're going to have another episode of Pods of the Futures later today. But I'm surprised they're still considered by the betting market the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. We know that Jaylen Brown is more than likely on the way out the door. I don't know what you're going to get back. But if you look at the teams like the Knicks, potentially what the Pistons become, because we still haven't seen them make their big move. Remember, we've talked about them wanting to land the big fish. We talked about that last week. Healthy Pacers team, the Raptors, if they go and get Kawhi Leonard. I think that they're right now, by default, the favorite to win the Eastern Conference. But I think the Knicks deserve a little bit more respect, and I think we have to assume that this is going to be a very different Celtics group by the time we get to the smoke-clearing post-free agency.
Last 90 seconds, what did the Miles Bridges trade away from Charlotte do for you?
I don't know, man. I still have to look at this. Charlotte is an interesting team.
I'm very confused.
I mean, I think I don't think the LaMelo thing I would freak out too much. Like they're adding shooting, which they need, and I think that there's some pretty strong upside. And I think they're kind of we've talked about this before for other teams, but I do think that they're rebuilding the plane while it's in the air to an extent. But there's a very clear case to be made that they're building around Brandon Miller, they're building around Con Knipple, and so they're going to do that by adding these other pieces. Kobe White's still there. I think they're still going to be a very solid team in the Eastern Conference. We'll see where Kawhi ends up and where he goes, but I don't know if they'll be, remember statistically they were the best team in the NBA from the start of the calendar year. I don't know if they go on a run like that, But I think they have a good enough team still to push for a playoff team, which would be a top 6 group and not have to play in the play-in.
That full trade, by the way, Miles Bridges, a 2029 first-round pick, 2027 second to the Suns for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 unprotected first. That first reported from Shams Charania over the weekend. So 2 big trades over a 3-day period, for the Charlotte Hornets. You hear that music, we got to step aside once again. When we come back, we will discuss one of the more brutal total beats you're going to see ever. But with the Red Sox getting it done against the Yankees, could this be a pivot point for them in their season? What's going on in the American League at large right now? And a whole lot more. Stick around as we dive into some MLB conversation after this on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ooh, it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. Contest season is here, and where we're broadcasting from, Circa Resort and Casino, $30 million in guaranteed prizes as we head into football season. You can cash in with 3 Circa Sports contests, entry starting at $1,000, all with no rake. That means every single dollar stays in the prize pool. Circa Million, 18 weeks, 128 ways to win. Circa Survivor, pick one winner each week. Last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo for the high rollers, $100,000 entry. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere, $30 million guaranteed. Head over to circasports.com for more information. Again, circasports.com for details. Speaking of football, America's game in action as the round of 32 continues. Day 2, Brazil-Japan still knotted up at 1 right now in the 84th minute. We'll see if we get any more scoring here, because Brazil, we just saw the, it's not the possession map, but it was the momentum map. Whew. All of the momentum on Brazil's side.
Yeah, again, I don't know what adjustment they made, but they have been completely outplaying Japan. At least the Japanese in the first half on their little momentum meter, however they measure it, I would assume it's shots or possession, whatever it is. But it was, in the first half, at the very least, somewhat even. Brazil has dominated this half in terms of play, possession, shots, like set pieces. So we'll see. I mean, the Japanese are desperately holding on right now, but still 1-1, like you mentioned, in the 85th minute.
Curious to see how much extra time we're going to get in this
what
one.
The in-game number is. Minus 250?
Oh, so it's actually come down.
Let's see. I'll refresh.
We
minus
saw
250.
Brazil live as high as minus 380. So come down, actually gotten a little cheaper. Maybe some people taking the dog.
So that's to advance for those who want the actual money line 3-way here. Minus 280 for the draw. Brazil plus 250 to win in 90 minutes. Japan 16-1.
Can you express, I guess, quickly what that means for some people? Because the numbers are significant, so make sure you recognize what you're betting. Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty easy to look at. To advance is just win the game. No matter what happens, you win this game in any form or fashion. So it's a simple money line bet for you. Don't have to worry about the draw. The 3-way within 90 minutes and extra time, that is the bets that we've been making here in group stage, right? So Brazil plus 280. So essentially, if you'd be betting this, you'd be asking Brazil here to, in the next 5 minutes plus stoppage time, get a goal and hold on to win 2-1. That's why the draw is minus 320, because the likelihood is we're probably going to extra time, just given the way the game is played. We'll see if that's the case. Draw minus 310, Japan 12-1. So that is the way that we're looking at it at this point right now. And it goes to totals, too. Total goal is 90 minutes. Again, those will always be distinguished. Always look at that, too, to see what the difference is. But the total for this 90 minutes is 2.5 under minus 254.
Okay, let's get into some baseball in the meantime, because yesterday, I've teased this a couple times now, but one of the more brutal total bet losses that you're going to see in Red Sox Yankees last night, if you had the under 8, it was a 2-0 game in the 9th. Shout out to Sonny Gray, who was unbelievable, had a no-hitter going in until Ahmed Rosario had a base knock in the 8th inning. Per Action Network's cover probability model, 99% you cash the ticket. And the 9th inning. New York scores twice to tie it. They force extras where they combine then for another 5 runs. So 5-4 final. Boston does end up completing the 4-game series sweep, walking it off. But I've teased the question, could this be a turning point maybe now for Boston? Like, you complete a 4-game sweep of the Yankees, of your rival, of a team who's at the top of the MLB standings right now. Could this be what you needed to catapult you into figuring things out the second half?
I think so. I mean, so look, I will say this only because I wanted to bring this up. there's really one thing that kind of sticks out to you now at this point after the 4-game sweep for Boston. Despite the fact that they're 36-46, Stormy, they're only 4.5 games back in the American League wildcard race, and they have a positive run differential. If you actually look at all of the teams, we'll call it in the race, so the ones that are not currently in control of a wildcard spot right now, there is only one team among them that has a positive run differential, and that would be the Boston Red Sox. Generally a sign that you have some positivity, right? You've outscored your opponents despite the fact that you're 10 games under 500. So it just got me thinking, in an American League that looks pretty mundane, pretty watered down, would it be really insane to think that the Red Sox might try to make a push here to get into the postseason? Then it got me looking at some of the numbers for this entire American League as a whole. The Red Sox themselves to make the postseason are 6-1. So we'll see if that can actually happen. But, look at the teams ahead of them. The Astros, I think, starting to get a little bit better health-wise. We know their offense is formidable, is, I think, going to stick around. They're a half game out. I am a fan of this Athletics team that I think offensively has everything to be desired. The question just becomes, are you going to get another pitcher? Are you going to get another bullpen arm to help supplement some of your biggest weaknesses we actually buy at the deadline if that's going to be the case? Will Hill was with us last week. He mentioned this. I think the Twins are leaking oil and they're going to eventually fall off. The Blue Jays, they just got swept. They've lost 6 straight. Don't really buy into what they're selling me here at this point. And the same thing with Baltimore, although Baltimore, I think, maybe has a little bit more going for it. We just know the upside of what that team is, only 3 games back. But I don't think that taking 6-1 with Boston in a weak league is the craziest thing to think about at this point right now, considering the positive run differential and the teams that are in front of them at this point.
And your point on just the not just the division, but the playoff odds specifically.
Playoff odds. Yeah, I don't want any part of the division. Look, they're 12.5 games back.
I just wanted to make sure that we clarified what that number was.
Yeah, but to make the playoffs at 6-1, I think is pretty interesting. Now, the division that I think does have some interest is obviously the American League West, because the Mariners, just for whatever reason, and it's similar to what they did last year, they just won't pull away. Like, for whatever reason, they just don't want to consistently play it. Look, there's been little reasons why. We've talked about the inconsistencies of Brian Wu. At times this offense leaves somebody to be desired. But they're 42-43. They just lost 2 coming out of the weekend here to the Cleveland Guardians. The Rangers just swept a 4-game set from the Toronto Blue Jays. So because of that, they're now a half game back from Texas. We could talk more about this with Adam Burke when he joins us tomorrow. But Texas has been a team that I've got some futures on. I've got them at plus 340 to win the division. I've got them to win the World Series from before the season started. I've kind of been a believer of what the Rangers are and what they ultimately could be by the time we get to the season's end. They've been outscored by 8 runs, but I still think there's something there, and they've won 7 out of their last 10, 6 out of their last 8. So I think we're finally starting to get some positive momentum. But this Mariners team just, at times, the belief is that they are maybe the second, third best team in the American League when everything is kosher together, when Cal Raleigh's hitting, when these arms are healthy. But they just haven't really shown it at this point right now. So you do wonder if there's some opportunity in American League where the Mariners, Astros, Athletics, and Rangers are all within 2 games of each other here.
You left out the other teams a little bit farther back in that division, which is your beloved Angels. But I wanted to actually bring this up while we're on the division.
What?
What did you make of the GM firing? Like, do you care? Is that just the tip of the iceberg?
You're going to give Perry's last name a shot?
I believe it's Manassian?
Manassian, yeah, good job. Yeah, Perry Manassian. Yeah, got fired. For those missed it, I think it was Friday evening. Angels GM Perry Manassian got fired. Whatever. I mean, I hope that this would mean that they are going to full sell on everything.
That more are coming.
Yes. I mean, that they've – no, not like in terms of firings. I mean, they'll fire people. That's fine. I mean, sell everything you've got. Like, okay. you should be a full-on seller at the trade deadline. Soriano will see you later. Detmers will see you later. They have some pieces. Joe Adele will see you later. Just a full-on, which, by the way, is not going to be good, as both of us have an over 70.5 of the win total. They should sell these pieces and get rid of them. And hopefully a change in terms of the general manager would mean that they're going to go and do that. Which is why, going back to some of these playoff odds, I was talking with Matt Neverett, who does play-by-play for the Aviators and does some coverage of the Athletics as well. And he was talking about going and getting a Detmers if you're the Athletics. And the Athletics are a team that are in that range of plus 350 just to make the playoffs. We're not talking about the division, but to make the playoffs. Would the Angels deal within the division? I don't know. But that's a piece that an Athletics type or a type team could go and get that is affordable, that could really fortify what they're doing. So I do wonder if they're going to start to sell these pieces, and I think they really should. So hopefully this firing of Manassian would mean that the Angels are going to be a seller, and some of these teams we're talking about in the American League would then reap the benefits by going and getting some of those pieces.
Angels are in action today. Ryan Johnson on the hill for them, plus 170. Road Dogs in Seattle. George Kirby going for the Mariners. They're over $2 favorites in this spot. Run total 7.5. Not that you have to break down that game. But
no, but I will say, I mean, look, just to invoke what we're talking about here, like, all right, Kirby, you're up. I mean, we lost 2 straight here to end this series against the Guardians. We need some more consistency. And the last time out for Kirby, he gave him 6 innings, only 1 earned run, struck out 5. But Stormy, in the previous 4 starts, he had given up 18 earned runs. So that is something where, again, you talk about consistency of finding your level. And if you're going to be a team that wins this division, these are series that you cannot play around in. Mm-hmm. And they are being priced as such. I mean, they're $2 favorites against the Angels here today, in part because Kirby's playing. It's part where the Angels are at this point right now. Johnson has not pitched well when he has been out there. 6 appearances, 3 starts, 19 1/3 innings in total with an 8.84 ERA. But don't worry, he's got some regression coming. His expected is about 6. So maybe he can be not abhorrent when he walks out there. So this should be a Mariners set right now where you're at home, you got Kirby going, you've got this terrible pitching staff going, and a dude that has been an absolute gas can here outside of the 6 innings of shutout baseball he pitched against the Baltimore Orioles last time out, that you can go ahead and do some damage and get a win here if you're the Mariners. So team total over, especially in the first 5, might be worth looking at here if you're Seattle.
I did not know that you were going to actually have an angle with me on that game, so I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I just follow dispassionately from afar.
You poor thing. You poor soul.
I hate them so much. But look at the Clippers, too. I mean, my favorite team, the Clippers are at least like, they're retooling pretty well on the fly, just like that. Artie Moreno, sell the team, please.
We are going to talk more baseball coming up in the next segment as we kick off the second hour of the program, albeit from more of a prop standpoint as we take a look at the 13-game card upon us in Major League Baseball. Jennifer Piacenti is going to help us break it all down. Stick around. More money moves after this.